Whistles plus mountains equal magic. Cass, East Broad Top, Mount Washington, the Rocky Mountains, they all cast their spell on those who can discern the final fading echo. It was once tradition for engineers to select their favorite unique sounding device and develop a sometimes semi-musical style or signature. While he was station master postmaster at the small Boston and Maine station in Lincoln, Massachusetts, my great-grandfather would often ride into Boston for the day. Late afternoon brought a much-anticipated reunion. Dogs, too, can sense the language of whistles. The family German Shepherd would sit out train after train, allowing them all to roll on by in the afternoon until the particular whistle sounded for his train. Then it was off to the station and the exact spot on the platform for his master's usual coach. East Broad Top's 6 Baldwins could all be identified by employees and line-side residents alike with eyes shut. Here are 4 of them in order of ascending pitch.
Holy smokes, they've lost the train. This is the triple header set of engines getting ready to back up after they've lost the train after coming down the downgrade side from McMullen Summit.
The types and variations are seemingly infinite. They range in tone from a Hancock 6-chime steamboat used by Union Pacific to the Pennsylvania single-note Banshee used on freight locos for many decades. Pennsy passenger locos, on the other hand, made their presence known with a more melodic 3-chime. Certain railroads fabricated whistles in their own shops, yielding a distinct sound. Norfolk Southern honored that tradition in 2012 as Nickel Plate Berkshire 765 toured the system. In addition to the standard NKP6 chime, you will note a Norfolk and Western hooter and a Penzie chime, consistent with the heritage of the trackage over which 765 rolled. Reading and Northern's Pacific 425 may be the mockingbird of all locos. Andy Muller and his crew have some 42 or maybe more whistles at the ready from which to choose. Steam whistles and air trumpets formed a once common duo along China Rail, one which lasted into 2005 over the loops and twists of Jingping Pass in Inner Mongolia. The whistle on this loco was disconnected. Here was the last stand for mainline steam in the world. Some visitors, not content with builder's plates alone, loaded their luggage with more hefty collectibles.
If we start at the little chamber, right, now see the difference in the height?
Yes.
Right? Then we go to the next chamber, and we see the difference in the height? Then we go then to the next chamber.
So what would the difference in tone be between these?
Deeper, that'll be more melodious.
Yes.
That'll be harsh. This will be more musical. That's your standard Chinese. That's a standard Nathan freight. This is the Nathan type passenger.
Two QJ210-2s were brought to Iowa in 2006, at first retaining their original whistles, but with bells now added. They hauled a few heavy freights, 5,000 tons in 2007 and 7,000 tons in 2011. By that time, a Rock Island whistle had been fitted to one loco, which was also Americanized with black drive wheels. A popular event at certain tourist railways is the whistle pull. Our opening scene was at Cass. In 2013, worn threads caused this whistle to go airborne. The former Baltimore and Ohio station in Youngstown, Ohio, was the venue for this staging in 2011. This segment originally was edited for Railroad Video Quarterly. George Stephenson invented and patented a steam trumpet in 1833 for the Leicester and Swanington Railway following an accident in which a farmer hauling a cart failed to hear the steam driver's handheld horn. The pitch or frequency varies in relation to the amount of steam, allowing for an interpretive display known as quilling. One maestro of the K4 whistle on the New York and Long Branch offered his rendition of Rock of Ages every Sunday morning as he stormed through one seashore town with several closely spaced crossings. In time, whistles became common also on steamships, at factories, lighthouses, and several other applications where warning or signaling needs arose. In the Mahoning Valley of Ohio, the final bellows from the mill whistles died out in the 1970s. The wide diversity of whistle types in American railroading could still be heard, amazingly enough, into 2001 and 2002 in Cuba. In late November of most recent years, the long-lost sounds of steam whistles echoed off Youngstown's buildings immediately across the Mahoning River from the Baltimore and Ohio station area. These events are sponsored by the Mahoning Valley Railroad Heritage Association. Steam is supplied by Youngstown Thermal from its underground lines, with the manifold supplied by Eagle Manufacturing, which delivers dry steam at a pressure of 225 pounds to the square inch.
I need you up here for a minute. Okay.
Not only was there an assortment of locomotive whistles, but also Great Lakes shipping, Navy vessels, and steel mill shift change and warning whistles. Protected by earplugs and headgear, onlookers enjoyed the sonic feast. No charge to attend. $1 for the privilege of practicing the fine art of whistle pulling. Let 'em rip. A multitude of types from many roads, B&O, Mopac, SP, Southern, Erie, a Chinese SY, not very old. And for the first time in 2 decades, the whistle of Grand Trunk Western 4070 sounded once again. The original whistle was stolen during the 1970s. Though marked Rock Island, this whistle is now believed to be from the Burlington.
This whistle has not been heard since, well, the engine went down in June of 1990 with mechanical problems, so somewhere around that date.
21 years or more.
Yeah, 21 years or more, right.
Oh, that's sad.
Assuming that ringing in your ears has subsided somewhat, you may appreciate the variations in tone, timbre, timing, and types, from rope pull operated brass to EMD air-activated steel to electronic models which have come into vogue since the 1990s. Some trains, such as the Lackawanna Electrics and multiple unit trains on other roads, never had bells. On newer diesels, activation of the horn automatically triggers the bell. This Norfolk Southern fake bell, as it were, is located next to the fuel tank. Electronic speakers have proven more reliable and require less maintenance than traditional clappers. As noted earlier, bells were often pitch personalized to individual locos or classes. Railroads, which operated ferries, used bells as navigational aids. On the foggy Hudson, Lackawanna captains approaching shore honed in on a bell of a particular pitch, matching one aboard the vessel. Different railroads used different pitch bells. This bell was discovered buried in mud when renovations were undertaken at Hoboken Terminal in the 1980s. When multiple locomotives were in motion, a busy switchyard could resemble a jubilee. Front-mounted round bells, interurban style, were Chicago Northwestern distinctive for many years. They proved more audible in the suburban quiet zones than traditional bells mounted beneath the frame. But the more modern CNW power reverted to manufacturer specs. Note the bell beneath the headlight. For a brief period, New Jersey Transit leaves 6 of these F units. They are seen together with the bell-less MUs at Convent, New Jersey. Concerning noise and train operators, sometimes it was more necessary to receive rather than to give. towers were equipped with various sounding devices to catch the attention of workers. Track torpedoes provided notice of work gangs ahead or other activity. One of the final runs of the Lake Cities past my Chatham, New Jersey hometown in the first days of 1970. With the advance permission of the engineer, I placed 2 torpedoes to provide a sonic farewell salute to his long career. In Mexico, this was done wholesale, a whole string of torpedoes, as part of a railroader's celebration. While on the subject of celebration, how about this ushering in of the new year with a minute-long blast of the whistle? This was in the Carpathian Mountains of Ukraine near the Romanian border, 2002 going on 2003. A massing of whistles or horns could also be used to celebrate last runs of employees or famous trains. Bill Davidson's 55-year distinguished career spanned Lackawanna Steam, 1946, to New Jersey Transit. His late afternoon departure from Hoboken was greeted with lots of noise.
I think they called in a couple extra horns from somewhere else.
Air horns present a long and complex history. Ed Kaspersky was gracious to share some of his experiences with our Railroad Video Quarterly audience back in 2000.
Doesn't this noise bother you?
Early diesels, with their monotone honkers, were an audio bummer to many. Such horns were universally employed by first-generation diesels, such as this former Timken Steel Alco S1. Allegedly responding to complaints by those who missed the sound of the steam whistle, the Southern and other railways began installing chime horns of all kinds. There exists an organization which majors on this facet of the hobby. Ed Kaspersky, who hails from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, is a major collector.
Have you ever gone trackside and watched that train go by and listened to the horn? And chances are it's a multi-chime, either 3 or 5 chimes, and wondered what make is that horn? Who manufactures them? What chords do they blow? Well, anyway, by watching this video, I hope to tell you just that. And then also, there's a fascinating world out there of collecting air horns.
Here is a sampling of the most common types of air horns in use today.
once again, once over some of the horns here. As you can see, there are many. That's my keyboard to keep things in tune with. Take a bow, maestro, take a bow. That was a virtuoso performance.
Must be the sheriff's day off.
More excerpts from Ed's video depict the wide variety of chords which are possible. Known as the Doppler effect, bounce-back sounds of departing trains are at a higher frequency. This one is a bit different. Hancock had long produced a 3-chime steam whistle. In the 1950s, a modified air chime was popular with New Haven, whose FL9s were so equipped. The Bull was designed to reflect the sound forward. It was deemed too quiet at speed, and these were replaced by air horns. For a time, the Conrail executive train used a Hancock 4700. Perhaps this allowed better sleep for the officials. Air whistles may yet be heard on some short lines. Then there are the experimentals you never heard. A farewell blast.
Make this a G minor. Yes, sir.
Somehow, Ed had not gone deaf in the 15 intervening years, and he sent this video of a meet in April 2014. Produced in the late 40s, this now rare model was used on some Penzi diesels and experimental electrics in the 1950s. In 2008, Reading and Northern allowed Ed to mount this horn on one of its diesels.
Horn here. This is a SL4T. These were made for Amtrak in the beginning and somewhat different, quite nice. And once again, this one belongs to me. A little dump truck coal traffic coming up through here. This is going to be the M5 up there, which is known as Old Scratch Proof, which was a Fred Berry original horn. Now, Fred Berry is a little bit special to me because he kind of mentored me. He taught me all I know. Well, anyway, here we go. We'll see how she sounds.
Norfolk Southern's 20 heritage units from 1912 employed two different types of horns. The 10 used on the EMDs have a slightly higher pitch. See if you can tell the difference. Horn feathering is a slight pull on the cord, admitting just a little air, an option on older style horn. Operation without adequate sounding devices is very dangerous. Even on this Chinese narrow gauge, the locomotive whistle needed to be repaired before it could set back out again. Train horns and whistles are mainly to warn motorists and pedestrians. The solution is grade separation or closure of lightly used crossings. At one time, the New York Central operated right through downtown Syracuse. Whistles from trains, such as the 20th Century Limited, were known to shatter windows on occasion. Working for Stone & Webster, my grandfather was sent there to take decibel readings. Relocation of the tracks was the solution in that case, and many others throughout the 20th century. Nevertheless, a multitude of dangerous crossings remain. The margin of safety provided by horns is miserable. When a nighttime ban was enacted in the 1980s at several hundred crossings along the Florida East Coast Railway, accident rates nearly tripled, while remaining relatively unchanged at those same crossings by daytime, as well as crossings unaffected by the ban. Quiet zones in Chicago and other areas have worked well as long as 4-quadrant gates, hefty fines, and increased enforcement are part of the mix. In 1998, Ames, Iowa became the number 3 city to employ stationary horns. Residents had complained about noise on Union Pacific's increasingly busy main line. 3 crossings are so protected. Noise now impacts a much smaller area. Drawbacks include no directional clue for the motorist and the occasional horn stuck in the on position until a maintainer arrives. This does wonders for a Burger King drive-thru. While there are no simple answers, it remains true that horns help to alert persons of the need to take action, just as sirens on emergency vehicles require that motorists yield the right-of-way. The language of trains does vary a bit around the world. Consider the two-tone motif common in the UK, Europe, and many other countries. Air whistles were common on Soviet-era diesels, so these were added to used GE locomotives that went to Estonia. Notice the vapor spray upon sounding. Silence now are the two-horn Bombardier units of Guatemala. The types of whistles and horns are seemingly endless, and so we leave you now with this noisy send-off. Farewell salutes sounding from trains of all kinds. There is nothing quite like the thrill of sounding off, whatever the occasion. May you soon have the chance to make noise.
Kathy?
Sure do.